Hello students, you are welcome to the GMAT 41's Basic Science class. I am happy to meet you today. How are you doing? Alright, so today I'll be teaching you the topic living things and non-living things. This part of science deals with life. Okay? In your senior secondary school, when you get to senior secondary school, you will study this part of science under a subject that is called biology. Biology. Bio means life. Logy means study. So biology, study of life. Alright, so I want to start by asking you this question. Are you a living thing or a non-living thing? I've asked myself that question before I came to the class to teach you today. And I told myself that I am a living thing. So what about you? Okay, I know now you are saying too, yes, I'm a living thing too. I'm a living thing. And you are correct, okay? You are very correct. But then, let me ask, did you believe that you are a living thing just because your teacher told you? Or because your parents told you, or because I said that I am a living thing? Today, we are going to find out what living things are and how we can identify living things with their characteristics. On the board here, we have the definition of living things. Living things are things that have life and possess the characteristics of living things. So there are two main points here. Living things, they have what? Life. And they possess the characteristics of living things. These are my reasons for saying that I'm a living thing. And you now know the reasons why you are also a living thing. Because you have life. Yes. And there are things that living things do, which you also do. Now we've known what living things are as things that have life and possess the characteristics of living things. I would now like us to learn about the characteristics of living things. What are the things, okay, that living things do, which you also do, I also do those things, and so we are living things. We want to talk about the characteristics. On the board here we have 8 of the characteristics of living things. It's important that you learn these characteristics and memorize them, okay? So let us talk about them. Number 1 is movement. Every living thing is expected to move. Today you moved, yes. Maybe you went to school, or maybe you ran an errand for your parents. They sent you to somewhere. You had to move from one place to another. Is that okay? That shows that you are a living thing. Characteristic number 2 is respiration. Respiration. When we hear respiration, what comes to our mind is breathing, okay? So you breathe in oxygen and then you breathe out carbon dioxide. Can we breathe? Let's see. Breathe in. Breathe out. Alright, so when you are breathing in, you are taking in air. And when you are breathing out, you are breathing out air. The air you take in is a gas called oxygen. The air you breathe out is a gas called carbon dioxide. But wait, there is a special meaning of respiration. Okay? Respiration, we define it as the breaking down of food particles in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen. When you eat your food, you know those food are being broken down in your system, inside you. So if the breakdown of food particles takes place in the presence of oxygen, that is when oxygen is present, we call that type of respiration aerobic respiration. But if the breaking down of food takes place in the absence of oxygen, where there is no oxygen, we call that type of respiration anaerobic respiration. Don't worry, dear students, I am going to teach you about that in our next class, because we will pick each of these characteristics of living things and talk about them in our next class. Characteristic number 3 is nutrition. Nutrition. So, did you eat today? I ate a very delicious meal. So the ability of something to feed is known as nutrition. So every living thing feed, okay, we eat. That is nutrition. It's a characteristic of living thing as well too. Number 4, irritability. Now just watch me and say, I think I felt pain just now. And you could hear me shout. Something happened. I had to hit myself, okay? And my skin felt that pain and then reacted. So I reacted to a change in my environment, the environment of the skin. Ordinarily, I have my skin like this, nothing is causing me pain. But when I hit, the skin will receive that pain. And then I might shout, just like you heard me shout. The response, the reaction to this hitting is known as irritability. The hitting is known as stimuli. Stimuli. We'll talk about that in our next class. Like I said, we'll treat each of these characteristics. If I give you ice to hold, let's say ice water or ice cream, and you hold it, what happens? You feel extreme cold on your hand because the ice is colder than the temperature of your hand. Now there will be a change in temperature of your hand. That is reaction now to something that is happening in your environment. And your hand might become frozen at a point. I mean, it might even be shaking. It might be shaking. So you are responding to a change in your environment. That stimuli there is change in temperature. Okay? That is irritability. So living things, they also react to changes in their environment. They respond to stimuli. That's what we call irritability. Another characteristic of living thing is growth. Growth. All living thing is expected to grow in height, in size. Look at me. Look at yourself where you are seated having this lesson. Was this your size when your parent gave birth to you? Was this your size? No. You were very small. Myself too, I was small when I was given birth to. Okay? But over time, you grew. You grew up. You grew over time, both in height and in size. Growth is a characteristic of living thing. Number 6, excretion. Excretion means removing waste product from your body. Did you urinate today? Did you urinate today? Did you sweat today? If you did any one of those things, it means you've excreted today. You removed waste from your body. That thing like water, that liquid you pass out when you are urinating, that liquid also comes out when you are sweating. Okay, you call it sweat. They are waste products. They are waste products. I will tell you what they also contain in our next class. Is that okay? For example, that of sweat contains something like mineral salt. You know, don't do what I'm going to say now. But when we were little in those days, I did something like this. If you sweat, taste it and see. But please, don't do that. I'm telling you now the experience. When you taste it, it will be salty, showing that something came out of your skin like salt. We call it mineral salt. So you excrete those products. They are waste. We don't need them in our body. Reproduction is another characteristic of living things. Reproduction. Reproduction simply means giving birth to young ones. Did you just come to this world all by yourself? No. Your mother gave birth to you. That is reproduction, giving birth to young ones. So living things are expected to reproduce. They can reproduce as well too. They can give birth to young ones. Another characteristic of living thing, which is a sad reality. I say a sad reality because if it happens, it's very painful. But it's a reality, it's something that is part of life now. That is death. Death is the opposite of life. So every living thing can die. When someone dies, the person ceases to live. It means that the person does not have life again. It's also a characteristic of living things. Now, these 8 characteristics of living things, if you put them together, pick the first letter, the alphabet, first alphabet of each of them. If you put them together, it will give you an acronym. Acronym means something you do that helps you to remember maybe what you're learning. So the 8 characteristics of living thing, we can use the acronym called Mr. Niger D. M here, this first M is movement. R there, the first R there is respiration. N here is nutrition. I, irritability. G, growth. E, excretion. The second R there is reproduction. And D, death. So these are the characteristics of living thing, and every living thing has this characteristic. Now, living things are classified into 2. I would like you to write this down. Living things are classified into 2. One is plants, the other is animals. So plants and animals are living things. Next, I will be teaching you about non-living things. Then we will now look at the examples of living things and non-living things. We are going to learn about non-living things. Remember, we have explained what living things are. And when I asked that question, are you a living thing or a non-living thing? Honestly, I could feel you saying, no, I'm not a non-living thing. I'm not a non-living thing at all. I am a living thing. Yes, you are a living thing. Now, what made you refuse to be a non-living thing? Why did you know that you are not a non-living thing? So let us find out what non-living things are. Non-living things are those things that do not have life. They do not have life, okay? They don't possess, they don't show, they do not do what living things do. Remember, we talked about characteristics of living things. The Mr. Niger, do you remember? Movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, death. Non-living things do not possess these characteristics. They don't show them. And that is why you said you are not a non-living thing, but you are a living thing. That's why I am also a living thing, not non-living thing. So remember, non-living things, they do not have life. Also, they do not possess the characteristics of living things. Let us talk about the examples of living things and non-living things now, okay? Examples of living things and non-living things. There are many of them. So let us start with that of living things. Some examples of living things are written on the board here. Human. It's an example of living thing. I'm a human. You are a human. So you and I are examples of living things. Okay? Squirrel is an example of living thing. Have you seen a squirrel before? Do you know the animal called squirrel? Don't worry, okay? The GMAS 41 had an outdoor video shot to collect samples of living things and non-living things in order to show you so that you can see also yourself examples of living and non-living things. Remember, you'll be asked questions from those video clips, okay, to tell us the living things and non-living things you will see in those videos. So you see a squirrel on a tree. In one of those videos, the squirrel was busy wagging its tail and making its cracking sound. You know? And just busy wagging its tail. You will see the squirrel there, okay? Now, bird is an example of living thing also. Bird is an example of living thing. In fact, in one of the video collection that the GMAS 41 made, you will also see a bird, okay, that moved. It moved by flying, and that also is a response to stimuli. It's irritability. You will see that in one of the videos that will be shown to you in the video clip, okay? Then snail is also an example of living things. Snail, do you know snail? Okay, now let's move on. Spider, mosquito, fish, lion, grasses. All these ones I mentioned up to lion are animals. Remember, living things can either be plant or what? Animals. So the ones I mentioned up to lion here are animals. Okay, we have grasses, that's plants. We have trees, we have flowers. Those are plants, okay? They are also living things. And etc. etc. Many other you can mention and add up to the list we have here, okay? So these are some examples of living things. Let us now look at examples of non-living things, things that do not have life. Some of them we have on the board. Pen, okay? That pen you're using to write now is an example of non-living thing. It does not have life. Shoes, okay? You put on your footwear. Shoes does not have life. It doesn't eat. It doesn't move on its own, okay? It doesn't respire. There is no respiration by then. Table, cars, tricycles. Cars is an example of non-living thing. Please take notes, okay? So that you don't say, but cars can move. Cars can take petrol. The petrol they are taking is enough food they are eating. Cars can die, of course, when the car gets spoiled. If the engine knocks, it's spoiled. Okay, but car is not a living thing. Please take note of that. For example, cars do not grow. Do they grow? They don't. They don't grow. They don't grow. So it's not a living thing. Take note of that. Okay, tricycles. That's the one we call keke. Even motorbikes. Okay? Iron, clothes, paper, television, plates, spoon, etc., etc. There are many other examples of non-living things. Alright, next you're going to see the video short collection by the GMAT 41 to show you examples of living things and non-living things. You could also see in the video clip trees. Alright? And so how can we say that trees are a living thing? Do they move? Do they move from one place to another? Yes, trees can move. You would see how the leaves of the trees are moving in the video clip that you would see next.